Now, these two swings you're seeing here are almost identical, but the results could not be more different. From the first one, which was 164 with an A-iron, nice tight draw to the target, and the next was 137, still an A-iron, but slightly leaking out towards the right. So the difference there was one small tweak with what was happening with the wrists coming into impact. So on the more powerful one, we were slightly flexed with that left wrist, and in that right wrist had that slight bit of extension to it. Perfect. And in the shorter, more wayward one, we had conversely that left wrist was in a really cupped, extended position, and the right wrist quite straight and flat coming into the shot. So amateurs are of course always getting in that weaker shot position with that weaker wrist position. So I'm going to show you in this video exactly how to get like that first shot. You can have that big of a difference between accuracy and distance from there, but you have to do this properly. It is not just as straightforward as trying to get in the wrist position. That's part of it, but we need to be doing something specific with our body as well, which I'm going to teach you with these awesome drills in this video. So guys, before we get to the drill that's really going to cement this into your golf swing, because what we do with this drill is what a lot of people don't talk about maintaining wrist angles coming into the golf shot. Super important. So I want to get straight to that. But first, we've got to understand the difference between the two to be able to have the knowledge to be able to understand this. And if we do something wrong, we've got to have the knowledge to know what we've got to do wrong and know how to fix it. So we're going to measure this with hack motion. So we can see with hack motion here from that little graphic, you can see if I go into more extended, let's say the left wrist, and conversely, I'll be going into some more, let's say, flexion of my right wrist at the same time. You can see it goes into plus numbers. Is the extended position. So whereas if I'm going into more flexion and it gets me into an extended right wrist, we can see it goes into minuses. So we're going to be able to measure it straight away. So 3 points here. Number one is if I am going into a lot of extension going through the golf ball, I'm going to be adding loft, so turning my 8-iron into more of a pitching wedge, for example. So I'm going to get more pitching wedge numbers. Whereas if I get to more flexion, I'm going to be de-lofting the golf club, turning my 8-iron into more, let's say, like a 7-iron here. So if I do some extended left wrist, really quite exaggerate it quite a bit, just so you can see the difference. So again, exaggerate it. We're going to see these high shots, really quite high. Now again, guys, I did exaggerate that, so it was a slower swing to be able to just demonstrate it. But we can see there position-wise, we're in the plus numbers, so we're definitely not in the spot we want to. So we can see high ball flight, it's gone out towards the right there. Again, 112 just because I was slowing it down for the exaggeration from there. So again, I will just slow this down as well so I can absolutely get some really good data to show you. But even with the same kind of almost slow swing intent, if I now get that more flex position, you're going to see it de-loft. And it go much, much better. And even there, I tried to go really quite slow. My body still whipped through because it's a fast, powerful position to play from. But you can see just the height difference is huge and much, much different. Again, distance like we saw right at the beginning of the intro. So number two, how does it affect direction? So with direction, like we saw at the intro, one was out towards the right, one was a tight draw to target. Okay, so direction is two different things that can happen when you extend your lead wrist going into the golf ball. So what generally happens when you extend your lead wrist is the club face ends up closing down for you. So it ends up getting in a more shut position if you don't do anything to make up for it. So as we can see from there. But like with my shots, you saw how it popped out towards the right. So this is why a lot of golfers, because of how their wrists move, end up early extending in the golf swing. So for mine, why they popped out towards the right is because ultimately my body early extended to be able to manage it. So why it early extended is a little bit of another thing which we're going to talk about in a second as well. Because when I extend the wrist coming into the ball, the club actually gets lower into the ground. The swing arc gets more down into the earth. So if I'm going to prevent that club hitting the ground too early from extension throwing it into the ground, my body would have to stand up a little bit, which is exactly why for me, when I really exaggerate it, like you really see there, the body pops up. And when we have those hands coming up from standing up to raise the hands up higher, we can see there for sure the club face is going to get more open. The more you stand the body up, the more the face will start to open up there. So that's where a lot of players can for sure start to miss the ball out towards the right quite often. Whereas if I'm getting that more flex wrist position, like curling motion of the knuckles, that's going to help the club face stay in a nice, stable, slightly stronger spot. you're going to be missing it way, way less out towards the right. Again, I'm just going to do a smooth one here. Oh, that was a lovely, lovely strike. Again, for a nice smooth swing. It's gone a really nice distance and it's gone directly to target. So that's really going to help me with that club face being in a better spot. So one more point, then we're going to get straight to the drills. So thirdly, just your quality of strike. Just like we explained, when the left wrist goes into more extension, the club goes more into the ground unless we stand the body up to bring the club out more up the ground. So you could hit fat shots way, way more often. So if I'm going to then extend the left wrist, let's say really exaggerate it there like I did, that was a chunk shot. I kind of bounced off the mat and squared the face up as well because I felt my body want to stand up, which would normally open the face. But again, then if we keep that left wrist into good flexion, right wrist into good extension, you can see the club isn't going to be dive bombing into the ground and extending too early with those wrists. So you're going to be having a lot better of a strike. Again, let's just do a nice and soft one. Again, really, really nice strike there. So there's something I need to do here, which I'm going to tell you exactly how to do this on the last drill to stop that ball overturning to the left, which is a little bit of a secret of how you get this. So guys, now we understand the big difference. Let's get to the drills straight away. So there's two drills I want to do with you here. First one here teaches you what to do with your body to be able to create these good wrist positions. Because what we see so many golfers do who lose their wrist angles, they are not moving their body in a good lateral sense, so shifting, or rotational sense. They're going all with their arms. If you go and throw your arms into that downswing, you're going to meet the ball at a very extended left wrist position and very flexed right wrist, because you have got to get through that golf ball. So you have got to throw going through the shot there. And that is going to, of course, lead us to the bad spot. So really cool here. There is a drill in Hack Motion that tells us how to do it. So if we go on to this really cool little section here, overview. So when you do a practice session in the absolute guided section on Hack Motion now, it will tell you what you're doing good and what you're doing bad in specific portions of the golf swing. Now, because I was exaggerating when doing what not to do and what to do, I was getting all different types of top of the backswing positions with my left wrist. I'm normally a little bit flexed, so I'll ignore that bit because it says main issue. That's just because of me demonstrating. So impact, significant issue. Now, that was certainly the case if you're doing what we're talking about from this video. So it's telling me to do the casting drill. So I'm going to click on that because this is exactly what I've just said here. So casting drill, what this drill does here is we need to move the body and start the body in that downswing. So get that lower body and mid-torso moving first. So we're getting that ultimately belt buckle region going on top of the left heel, because that's getting me shifting and that's getting me turning. So both of those. And you can see if I just leave my arms where they are, you can see how I get this nice angle form. My wrists get into this nice hinge position. So if I just continue that relationship, keep that left side moving and shifting and turning, I keep my angles nicely. Because like we said, if you go too throwy with the arms, you're going to get into that bad spot. So let's start the drill. So we can see, okay, I need to get into a good address position, then get up to the top, and now come down and repeat my angle. So there we go. We can see a nice rep. So again, let's get ourselves up to the top. So I'm watching as we go. And there we go. So you can see what I'm doing with my body. I'm moving my body, I'm shifting, I'm turning, I'm getting that belt buckle going over my left heel. So let's do another one. Get up to the top, into a good position. It's going to show us how to do it, and then follow it coming down. See how I'm moving my body and not my arms. Brilliant. Okay, so we can see another rep catching. It gets you doing a bunch of those reps, but what I feel already, I feel my left glute on fire. But guys, before I hit a ball here, if I do this poorly, what we're going to see, again, it's going to show us that casting motion. So what I did there, I just moved my arms, moved it into this position to where I'm throwing the wrist, so we know we've got to do it right. So okay, now let's get to the top. Let's do a rep hitting a ball, coming down. We're in a good spot. Absolutely, it says rep captured there. Now let's go up and then turn the body through in kind of like a little pump drill fashion, which the launch monitor didn't choose to pick up there. So that's how what I would recommend is when you're doing this drill, get into your address position, get yourself up to the top of your swing from there, do your casting drill. So you can do this with or without Hack Motion. I would, of course, recommend to do it with Hack Motion because it gives you the feedback, just so we're moving that body correctly to get our arms and wrists moving into a good spot. And then, of course, do your repetitions then where you're moving through the golf ball. So there we go. And now I'm going to move through. Now I've loaded my body up, back through, and just swinging through the shot. So guys, next drill here, motorcycle drill. So with a motorcycle drill, what we're doing, we're making sure we're getting into a good flex wrist position and then curling those knuckles down as we're moving through, physically doing the movement, but we've got to do the body movement we just talked about before. So do your casting drill first, get that body really good and fired up to be able to do this successfully. So again, I'm now in the hack motion database again, because this is absolutely in that database. So we're going to get up to the top of the swing. Absolutely. Now, as we can see there, I want to move that wrist into some flexion coming down. And now we can move all the way around. I'm going to extreme it a little bit more than it says. So let's move down and just hit the ball through there. And we can see how we're moving through that downswing. So as we could see from that chart, I was a little bit overdoing it. That's the sake of it. I'd rather overdo it than underdo it. So again, let's get into our setup position. And what I'm trying to do is curl those knuckles down. And you'll really get into that spot. And I'm doing it nice and slow. So we're getting up to the top. So let's get into that address position for a little bit longer. There we go. Now up to the top. Now flex that wrist. There we go. Now I'm just going to keep that flexed. And now start the downswing. And there we go. So absolutely brilliant. When you're doing half swings into TrackMan, it doesn't really like to pick it up. But absolutely, we can see from the hack motion that we're doing it absolutely fine. So this is where it'd be brilliant, of course, if you're hitting balls into a net. Of course, you don't really need to see the ball fly for this type of drill. So again, up to the top of the swing. There we go. Well, we can see. Now flex that wrist. I'm going to do it more than it says. And boom, turn through. There we go. And you can see, pretty good there. I had that little bit of yellow in there, which means I was a little bit too flexed. Whereas, again, now if we're at the top of the swing, now there's no excuse for not doing this correctly because it shows you exactly what to do. Even without the hack motion, again, you can do this on your own. So if we get up to top, now let's get it in a more extended position and swing down. Felt like I was going to hit the wall there. We can see it's all in red. Shows us it's too extended. It's telling us for each section. So, again, we've done our casting drill. Get the body moving to get the movement correctly. Now we're flexing the wrist down, flex, and then boom, through. And just get that motion. Oh, it picked that one up finally. So as you can see, it's a very exaggerated drill. Flexed it so much, the ball's always going to go left. And again, when you're doing exaggerated drills, you don't really need to worry about where the ball goes. But again, let's say you've done a bunch of reps of these. Now you can have a very specific feel and know what to do with the body to be able to get into this position with this small tweak. So what my recommendation will be, now when you're just out on the golf course, you're playing or you're practicing without doing these drills, feel like as you're starting the downswing, you're getting this belt buckle over the left heel to get the shift and the turn, leave the arms alone, but at the same time feel like those knuckles, if you're really struggling, have a little curl down towards the ground. If you do those and keep that body turning, oh, feel that. Oh, that's close to that first one from the intro. Then you're going to get these really lovely shots. Again, belt buckles going over the left heel, curling the knuckles down just to get the feeling. But the main thing that's getting me going through the golf ball nicely is that belt buckle moving forward. If we don't have that body motion, we can try to manipulate the wrist angles all we want. We're not going to actually cement it into the golf swing. So again, belt buckle over left heel, curling knuckles down and turn through the shot. Oh, that was a good strike again. And look at that distance, 161, 171 total with an 8 iron. Again, I'm not necessarily going at it. One more for good luck. Belt buckle over the heel, curling knuckles down, blending those two drills together. Oh, 164, beat it. Okay, I could have got a little bit more turn on that, to be honest. My path was a little bit inside as a result. Huge, huge difference. So that's why you should be making that small little tweak and how to use the body to make that tweak and cement it in properly with these two drills. Again, you can do them with or without hack motion. I would very much recommend you to do them with hack motion. You want a discount code, there is a link in the description, absolutely, to pick up one of those for a discounted rate. So if you enjoyed the video, click that like button if you want more golf instruction. Just like this, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell button too to be notified every time I put out a video.